All right, fantastic. Well, welcome out the entire Team Illuminate family. And of course, I know a bunch of USANA associates from across the country and even the world for that matter have been logging into our 8-week online boot camp. And I got to tell you, being at week 6, we've had a jam packed last 5 weeks full of a ton of information. And I know we're going to be closing out pretty strong with the last 3 weeks. And definitely tonight's webcast is no short piece of information. I want to encourage every single one of you that's logged on this evening to make sure that you have a pen and paper out because tonight's webcast is going to cover a lot of information. This is quite scary. There's a lot of detailed stuff in here about the cost of being sick and the price of being healthy. And I got to tell you that Linda Duke has done a phenomenal job in doing this presentation. I've seen her do this presentation a few times, and I know she's updated a few things. There's actually been some new releases and some new information through some new books that we were just talking about today that she's excited to share with you guys. I got to tell you that knowing Linda now for almost 12 years, I've watched her truly develop a passion for wanting to help people. Not so much on just focusing on maybe on taxes or on money, but her passion has really become helping people understand the health reality of today's world. In the process of doing that, she's built a huge organization of associates that span all over the United States into multiple countries. She has a ton of associates I know that span out through Mexico. I know she has tens of thousands of people in her organization that she is generating a long-term residual income off of, and she has consistently been earning residual income checks from her health and wellness business every single week, nonstop for the last 12 years. And I don't know about any of y'all, but that is a very solid place to put your bet if you're going to Vegas with something like that. So she's got, like I said, an absolute passion for helping people when it comes to teaching health and wellness. She's got a heart of gold, and all of you know her as our USANA mama. So it's a privilege and honor to have her on the webcast this evening. You guys need to be prepared for a jam-packed webcast full of information. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gold Director Linda Duke. You guys be prepared. Linda, it's all yours. You're muted. I can't hear you. I think you need to hit the unmute button.
Can you hear me okay now?
There you go. But your webcam's gone. All right. Okay. Knock it out. It's all yours.
Okay, now my slides aren't going forward now.
Click on your PowerPoint slides and it should advance. No, just on the screen where your slides are.
There you go.
There you go.
There
All
you go.
right.
Can you
Have
see
at
my
it.
slide? There I am. Well, thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate that introduction, and thank you all so much for joining in on this call, and the guests too that are on this call. I know this call is being recorded, and so I hope that you find this presentation very impactful, very revealing information, and like Brian said, it's going to be full of a lot of information. And oh, Brian, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Brian, can you? Okay.
There's a little bit of delay, Linda. You're okay.
Okay.
So just keep
Going to
going.
be full lot of information.
There's a little bit of delay, Linda. You're okay. So just keep going.
Okay. Going to be full of a lot of information. Like Brian said, taking notes. I don't know how many notes that you really should take because it's going to be so full. There's one section where I would like you to take some notes, but for the most part, it's just going to be jam-packed of information. Because what I really want to do, like I said, like it says here at the top, I really am. I mean, my main purpose is I really am a health and wellness crusader, getting information out there, educating people about what they can do for prevention and health and wellness. And I've been with USANA since 2001. So going on 13 years, I think the same as Brian. And just a little bit about me, where I'm coming from with this information about what I've done. Like I said, with USANA, I've been with USANA since 2001. So going on my 13th year with USANA. Also, a little bit more about me is that I'm from Missouri. So we all know the motto of Missouri, which is the show me state, which with this PowerPoint, you'll see that I can get very detailed and analytical with some of these facts. But after graduating from Mizzou, I went to work for corporate America because that's what we're all taught, right? Go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job. So I went and started working with Kraft Nabisco. To this day, I can't believe I was with a processed food company, especially after here that I should not. It's exactly the opposite of my now. But also more taking it one step further and in the process of becoming a certified health coach with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. So if you know anybody who is interested in becoming a health coach, because that is a field that's, as you'll see as I give this presentation, health coaches are going to be so much in demand as this healthcare system rolls out and goes forward. And then another thing I started about 2 years ago is I became a healthcare event coordinator with StrokeScan Plus. And what I do with StrokeScan is I arrange and coordinate events for people for prevention of cardiovascular diseases, prevention of stroke, testing to see whether they've got any indication of early cancers of the internal organs. So definitely all health related. On that front slide, I am a Mrs. The MRS does not mean this, but I am a Mrs. This is my little family here, my wonderful husband Ken of 23 years and my daughter Emily. On the picture on the left, she's about, I guess it's about 2 or 3 years ago. And then this one on the right is us about a couple of months ago in February, where she signed on to play Division I soccer with the Abilene Christian Youth. So I've been a certified soccer mom also for the last 14 years because she's been playing soccer since she was 4. So that's a little bit about my family there. Well, with given this presentation, I've given this presentation a couple of times. The first time I've given this presentation was about 3 years ago, and in 2011. And since then, how I always like to start this presentation is asking people the same question I do when I start a health and wellness awareness seminar, and that is, what is your greatest asset? So if I were sitting across from you, what do you think, what would you say your greatest asset is? And to help me do that with you, what I usually do is say, I tell you to write down $1 million. Write your 1, write your 6 zeros. And above the 1 and the zeros, write the things that are important to you. And aside from, my personal Lord and Savior, your spiritual, your creator, we're not putting this here. This is more business related. So in front of the 1, on top of the 1, put health. Okay? And then on the other zeros, put the other things that you feel might be important to you above those zeros. And it could be family, friends, your education, your business, your assets, that sort of thing. But when you put those things above those zeros, I want to illustrate something to you, and that is how important your health really is and how much responsibility you have to take for it. Because in this $1 million example, if we were to take away your health, if something should happen to your health, what are you left with? Okay? You're left with a bunch of zeros. Whoops, if we were to take away. You're left with just a bunch of zeros and a couple of commas and a dollar sign. And I don't know about you, but a dollar sign with just in front of zeros doesn't really mean a thing. So really your health is your most important asset. And so people say, well, my family's the most important thing. Or, my business or my work is the most important thing. And then I ask them, well, if you don't have your health, can you really take care of your family? Can you really take care of your business? And so what I stress is taking care of your body, because you've only got one of you, and it's the only place you have to live. So let's get to what the MRS means. And you all might think this is a little bit hokey, but usually people remember this. Okay, there I am with Dr. Mehmet Oz, MD. And Dr. Oz actually associated with USANA, with our True Health Foundation. And what USANA did was partnered up with Dr. Oz's Health Corps, which is an organization to help with the prevention of obesity in children and teenagers. Okay, and he saw a great fit with USANA. But why I want to utilize this picture is that I always joke around with people and I say, you know what, one of these days I'm going to write a book. And the title of the book is going to be Why You Don't Have to Have MD Behind Your Name to Take Care of Your Health. Okay? So, you know, so many people these days place so much value, and it's important that you do, but it's also important that you take responsibility for your own health also, to research your information also. So what I say that MRS stands for is massively or mightily or majorly, whichever of those M's you want to be, that I am massively, majorly, mightily responsible and serious about my health. Okay? So I don't have to have MD behind my name, and you misters out there don't have to have MRs behind your name or MDs behind your name. We can just all agree to be Mrs. Okay? So hope you all remember that. But I also do a little seminar called Time, Money, Health, and I also want to illustrate the importance of what really taking control of your life and owning your life is, because you know you can have all the time and money in the world. However, if you don't have your health, then really all the time and money don't really matter. And what happens in this day and age is that people spend all their time trying to earn all the money that they can so that they can finally have the time to retire and the money to retire. But what they find, what a lot of people find is that by the time they retire, they no longer have their health because they've worked so hard to reach that retirement. And then what they have to do is spend all that money and their time trying to regain their health. So you know what? It's just so, throughout, I'm going to be stressed, it's just so important to be well, stay well, maintain your health, and get well. And so hopefully this will serve as your wake-up call for awareness about your health. I did this presentation, like I said, about 3 years ago, and Carlos Almaguer kept wanting me to do this presentation, and I said, you know what, Carlos, what was so impactful about this presentation? And Carlos is young, and he said, you know what, Linda, it just scared the weebie-jeebies out of me, and it made me realize that even though I'm young, I had to really arm myself with the information. It's the first time that I realized that I had to take responsibility for my health, and that's exactly what he did, and I hope that's what you have. So my question to you is, do you have a health challenge? Because most, you know, people, if you're over the age of 30, you do. And when I was first introduced to USANA 12 years ago, I had a health challenge, and that health challenge was high cholesterol. And most people know that your cholesterol needs to be under 200. Well, mine at the age of 19 was about 400. It was about 11 of 386. So what I did throughout all these years is that I took control of my health. I took responsibility, started researching things about LDL cholesterol, started realizing things about my arteries, started really studying heart disease. I think you've all have heard the saying that if you've got 10,000 hours of time and education and time spent in a subject, then you're an expert in that area. Well, I think I've added up my hours over the last, 13 years, and I think I've got about 13,000 hours of health and wellness, adding up those hours each week that I've spent doing, studying health and wellness and prevention. And so my passion is also heart disease, of high cholesterol, because what I realized in high cholesterol, what I had to learn is that unless it was oxidized, which that means that it's really causing a lot of plaque in your arteries. Unless it was oxidized, it really didn't make any difference. So as long as I kept it not oxidized. And I started looking at heart studies. And what I want to encourage you all to do is that my situation is high cholesterol, but I want to encourage you that if you have high blood pressure, if you have cancer, if you have fibromyalgia, if you have lupus, whatever you have, I encourage you to go research the studies that's out there. Don't listen entirely to your doctor. I mean, listen to them, listen to him or her, but also at the same time, weigh that information out with what you find and research on your own. Because if I hadn't done my research, I would still be on a cholesterol lowering drug called Lipitor, and I would have been on that drug now for almost 29 years of being on that drug. And instead, I have not been on that drug since my daughter Emily was born. And thanks to the work that I did with researching information. And what I found is that it's not really the cholesterol, it's the inflammation. And what I found is that through simple antioxidants, through certain enzymes and things such as that, that I could lower my cholesterol and have it not be oxidized through antioxidants and vitamins and minerals and not having that drug. So let's take a look at today's reality, health reality. It's really the sick care reality. And these are the diseases that we're suffering from: cardiovascular disease, cancer, stroke, lung diseases, and diabetes. And here's some more chronic degenerative diseases, all caused by silent inflammation: heart disease, cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease. The list goes on and on. And like I said, if you have one of these, definitely research what you need. These, on the left-hand side, this is a slide showing the causes of death in the U.S. And on the left, of course, it's the ones that I just mentioned. And on the right-hand side, if you'll notice, it's the actual causes of death. And you'll see things like tobacco, diet, lack of exercise, alcohol, infectious agents, pollutants and toxins, firearms, sexual behavior, such as AIDS, HIV, that sort of thing, motor vehicles, and illicit drug use. And if you look at those ones on the right, those are basically all caused by lifestyle, except for one or two of them, maybe motor vehicles and firearms. But those ones are our lifestyle, our behavior. It's actually what we're doing to ourselves. So, are we actually in a healthcare crisis, or are we in a lifestyle? And I like to call it behavior, because sometimes when we say lifestyle, people don't understand that. So I'm like, what are you doing? What are you eating? Are you eating a couch potato? Are you eating all the processed foods and fried foods that are out there today? Are you eating fast foods? That sort of thing. Today. So, for getting the cost of this book, here's actually admitting that I am not an MD. I am just an MRS, mightily responsible and serious about my health. And so here's a disclaimer that the health-related information that I'm providing is informational purposes only and not intended to be or to serve as a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified healthcare professional with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. And then the rest of it is there. But anyway, this is my cover behind slide here. But you know what? All of prevention, you don't have to have MD behind your name to talk about wellness and prevention and not getting sick. But where this presentation comes from is from this book called The Cost of Being Sick, Surviving the Healthcare Meltdown. It is a guy named and he's the renowned healthcare medical devices, surgical procedures, that sort of thing. He's dealt with clients such as IBM, 3M, Gatorade, Cigna Insurance, and so he definitely has the experience. Definitely has over those 10,000 hours that I was talking about out there. In his 24 years that he's been in the medical device and the surgical area, he's created over 300 products and experience that he's had. So he first published the first edition of The Cost of Being Sick in 2002, and then the information I'm covering today is from actually 2010. And basically, in his 2010 book, he was actually able to say, "I told you so." Well, I've got good news for you, because now I can't go forward. I just recently found out that he has a third book coming out called Wave 3, The Shocking Future of Healthcare in America. I'm real excited about this book. It's not out yet. It doesn't say when it's going to be out. I would imagine, if I read, it's going to be out probably in 2015, probably after more of the Affordable Care Act stuff is implemented, and seeing where that's going. But in his new book, he said the best way to describe the healthcare in America today and in the future is in one word. And he said it's just disruption. It's disrupted. And then he's also going to talk about how businesses and individuals must prepare for this wave 3 and the future. He's got more shocking predictions that everyone must know. And also he's going to be covering technology and how connected devices will change healthcare. Because this day and age of technology, it just seems like everything is being recorded about a person, what drugs they're on, their sicknesses, and so forth. So what exactly is the cost of being sick? What are we talking about? Well, tell you what, after researching this, the price is really more than what you really want to pay. But I tell you what, it is a bill that if you're prepared, and if you're knowledgeable and you do your homework, it's a bill that you can avoid. Because prevention, basically health and wellness, is the key to helping solve our healthcare crisis. So prevention is that price. So you can, I like to say, you can either pay now or pay later. But to me, it's just makes more sense to maintain your health, to take care of your health, because it is going to be a rat race. That if you get sick in this day and age, I tell you what, you don't want to get sick. You will absolutely want to remain as well as possible. And that begins now. It begins now whether you have kids, whether you're pregnant even, pregnant, babies, kids, young adults, or even if you're older and if you've already got some chronic degenerative disease, do what you can now to see what you can do to reverse it and maintain it and so forth. So we've got, what he talks about is this sick care perfect storm, where we've got lousy nutritional habits combined with inactive lifestyles. It's a fact that we're not exercising as much as we used to. Kids are not either. We've got a treatment versus prevention mindset, where it's like, you know what, I don't care whether I get sick, I can take a pill, I can go to the doctor, I can go to Texas Med Clinic, I can go to all those places in the event I get sick. So that's the mindset that we currently have. And that, folks, has got to change, and that will change. Also, you've got this rising cost of prescription drugs that keep getting more and more expensive. And then also we've got healthcare benefits decreasing, but also rising in cost. And I'm not on this presentation tonight to be political. We all know that the Affordable Care Act is here. It's being implemented and so forth, and there's good things about it. However, just because you have insurance, with talking with some people, just because they have the Affordable Care Act, because they have insurance, doesn't mean that all of your medical care is going to be free. No, that's so that you can go pay your co-payments, so that you can first meet that $3,000 or $5,000 deductible. I know my husband owns a staffing company, and because recently they had to change from Humana, a huge health insurance company, to more of a smaller one, to be self-insured in order to cover the cost that small businesses are experiencing these days. So in this book, Nicholas Webb talks about the 7 predictions for the impending healthcare crisis. Now remember, he wrote this in 2010, so 4 years ago. And as I can see, almost all of these have come true in the last 4 years. And the top three killers will become more lethal, and that is cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. And cancer, there's a catastrophic rise in the number of cases over the next 10 years, and cancer incidences are expected to increase approximately by 45% by 2030. Imagine that, increasing by 45%. Can you imagine the strain on our healthcare system that that's going to create? Now, so many people say, oh, cancer is genetic. I've got breast cancer runs in my family, or skin cancer runs in my family, whatever. Well, I'm here to tell you that only 30% of all cancers are genetic. The other 70% are related to lifestyle. I like to call that behavior. The other 70% are related to your behavior choices. Now, 30% of that 70% is a given. That's smoking. That's tobacco-related cancers. It's a no-brainer to know that if you smoke, that you have a high chance of getting lung cancer. Okay? So 70% minus 30% leaves 40% of this 70% of all cancers are related to, guess what? Diet and exercise, lack of exercise. They're related to your lifestyle and your behavior. So cancer will no longer be a condition associated with aging. It will no longer be, oh, grandma or papa is 70 years old, so it's just expected that he has this type of cancer. No, that is not going to be the case. You're going to have more kids with chemotherapy and radiation, all in younger ages, all because of nutrition, being overweight, obesity, lack of exercise, smoking and tobacco, and also this, too much time in the sun, and also tanning beds. Okay? Second one is diabetes. Currently, keyword there is currently ranked as the 6th, and predicting is going to keep rising and rising and rising. Right now it's number 6, but it's going to keep rising and taking all of this other stuff along with it. 8% of the U.S. population, which means 24 million people, have diabetes. However, 5.7 million of them are estimated to be undiagnosed as of right now. They don't even know they have diabetes. And so 186,000 people under the age of 20, I want you to, under the age of 20, that is young, are diagnosed every year with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. 2007 estimated cost of diabetes was 174 billion. Well, I went and did some research online in Google and actually found this new statistic. And yes, it says on there, on the ncbi.gov website, that the estimated cost was 174 billion. However, the estimated 2012 cost of diabetes was 245 billion. Okay? No, I have that back. 2007, the estimated 2012 cost was estimated to be 174 billion. However, it turned out to really be 245 billion. So that's a 41% increase from what they projected it to be. Now, I want you guys to be getting a picture of this, okay? I want you guys to be getting a picture of this. May not be you, but if this is this many people in America, I want you just to envision hospitals. I want you to envision doctors' offices. I want you to envision pharmacies. And I want you to envision how crowded they're going to be. And how last week we heard Dr. Enron talking about doctors and about how a lot of them are leaving their profession. Well, he also expects that there's going to be more doctors leaving the profession. So the third disease would be heart disease, of course, which right now heart disease is the #1 killer in America. 1 out of 3 Americans has heart disease, 80 million people, and the leading cause of heart disease, guess what, is lifestyle. We've got atherosclerosis, which is the clogging of the hardening of the arteries, and that's what causes heart attacks. That's what causes stroke. That is beginning in children as young as 9 years of age now. So, and Harris poll suggests that 67% of Americans are overweight or obese, and these overweight Americans are driving this overwhelming majority of these healthcare costs, because obesity leads to the rest of these diseases: lung diseases, diabetes, joint and bone pain, certain types of cancer, depression. I was telling Brian, I was kidding around with him, and I'm saying, I think I'm just depressed for working on this PowerPoint for the last couple of days, and it's just, this PowerPoint is just so depressing about all of this sickness that is projected to be coming. And 75% of obesity increases health care costs comes from cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. And right now, the U.S. spends about $2.5 trillion on health care, and that's slated to double by the year 2015. Well, this presentation is going to get worse. And hold on, put your seatbelt on, because what I'm about to show you is really depressing, or at least it was to me. And what this is from the CDC. You can go to cdc.gov/obesity, and you too can be looking at these slides that I'm going to go very quickly through here with. But what it is that this is the map of the United States showing the obesity trends among U.S. adults between 1985 and 2010, except I did recover some information from about 2012. What this shows is obesity. The definition of obesity is a body mass index of 30 or higher. And it's a measure of a person's height and their weight and so forth. That's how they figured that out. And the source of this was collected through the CDC's Behavior Risk Factor Surveillance System. And the interesting thing about this results is that this is self-reported, which means, how many times when someone asks you your weight, do you really tell the truth about your weight? So I really think that these numbers are really worse than what they are, because, you know, I don't know about you, but if somebody asks you your weight, you might smudge 5-10 pounds there or whatever. So this is the map of the United States showing obesity trends in 1985. And if you can see down at the bottom, and look down at the bottom at these little parts there as I go through these slides very quickly. But the white slides for this year is no data. The light blue is less than 10% of the adults in those states are obese. And then the more of the royal blue is that 10 to 14% of the adults in those states are obese. So let's continue on here with these slides. 1986, we've got some more blue. We've got some more royal blue coming on. We've got more states in 1987 reporting. However, you know, we've got more royal blue, which is 10 to 14% of the population. 1988, more royal blue. Okay. 1989, more states with 10 to 14% of the population being obese. And that actually, for these statistics, that is like a person who is 5'4", 5'4" being 30 pounds overweight. So if you're 5'6", I would imagine that would be about 40 or 45 pounds overweight. You can look at the BMI charts to figure that out. So 1991, they added another category, which was real royal blue, which is 15 to 19 states reporting a BMI of 30 or above. 1992, 1993, 94, 95, 15 to 19% obesity rates. 1996, getting less and less of the light blue color. And also 1997 added another figure, which is 20% of the adults in those states reporting a BMI of 30 or above. There's 3 states there. 1998, more states with greater than 20%. Look at 1999. Okay. 2000, we've got only one little state of Colorado left with less than 10% of the state of Colorado. In 2001, they've added another figure, which is one state, what is that, Mississippi, being 20 to 24% reporting rates of BMIs of 30 or above. 2002, 2003, 4 states. 2004, okay? Look at those states of 20 to 24%, and just imagine all of the diseases and the healthcare cost that are associated with obesity: diabetes, lupus, fibromyalgia, joint pain, cancers, all of that goes into that. In 2005, they've added another indicator, which is 25 to 29% obesity rates in 3 states. 2006, lots of more orange states also. 2007, more states of 25 to 29%. Okay, more states. Imagine this, 25 to 29% of the population self-reporting rates of obesity. 2010, more 25 to 29%. Okay, so as I take a look at this from 1990 to the year 2000 to the year 2010, look at all of that disease that's happening merely because of lifestyle choices, not genetic, but lifestyle, not eating properly, not exercising enough. Okay, so in 1990, just 10 states had a prevalence of obesity less than 10, and no state had a prevalence equal to greater than 15. By 2000, no state had prevalence less than 10, and 23 states had 20 to 24%, and no state had a greater than 25. Just think, no state had greater than 25 just 14 years ago. Okay, this is some information I pulled off the website today for 2011. They've actually added another color, which is greater. They've added the 30 to 35%, and then greater than, and then almost, we've got a couple of states here that are almost at 35%, which is Louisiana at 34.7% and Mississippi at 34.6%. Imagine that. Imagine the strain on those states' healthcare systems of having almost 35% of people with obesity rates and everything that comes along with it. Texas has a 29.2% as of 2012. So we are no longer, we're not the fattest state in the nation. So why this is being caused? Poor nutrition equals obesity and disease. And a recent Time magazine survey, 90% of Americans actually say that they eat healthy. Imagine that, okay? They say that they're eating healthy. That's kind of like saying we're fine, 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 right? I call that all of a sudden syndrome. And all of a sudden syndrome is all of a sudden they have heart disease. All of a sudden they have high blood pressure. All of a sudden they have high cholesterol. But no, it's been developing in their bodies over the years. And this is a quote by Wendell Berry. And people are being fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. So until the health industry can get together with the food industry, okay, and stop feeding us pharmaceutical drugs, which is on that little plate there, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. So 1 in 3 kids today will develop diabetes. I'm going to speed this up. So as rates and cost of treating these 3 diseases, cancer, diabetes, and heart disease, continue to rise, so does the expense required by the government and by businesses. So the question that Nicholas Webb asked is, can lawmakers, can our senators, can our executives of businesses justify to voters and their shareholders Health coverages for illnesses that are predominantly driven by poor lifestyle habits. Can that continue? So, because preventable illnesses make up approximately 80% of the burden of illness and 90% of all healthcare costs. So, preventable illnesses account for 8 of the 9 leading categories of death, as I showed you in that slide earlier on the right-hand side. The second prediction is that employees will bear the burden of healthcare costs. Employees. Healthcare costs are rising at almost 15%. And what this is doing is choking small businesses, which employ about 40% of all workers in the U.S. And so that's why you see more and more small businesses having people go part-time instead of on their payroll for full-time. And studies have shown that health insurance is the #1 problem for small businesses, because these businesses will sooner or later pass along these costs to employees in order to maintain their profits. They'll do whatever it takes. They'll start cutting the type of coverage or raising deductibles and that sort of thing. So employers will not continue to be held financially responsible for the lousy eating habits and lifestyle choices. Sooner or later, these businesses are going to catch on. The third one is healthcare costs will become the new mortgage. Imagine having a mortgage, which is usually your biggest bill. And what's going to start happening is that our healthcare bills will start rivaling mortgages. So imagine making a $1,000 a month health insurance bill, which is $12,000 a year, on a salary of $40,000. Not much fun. Bankruptcies. 1.5 million American bankruptcies, with more than 60% being caused by medical bills. And bankruptcies are being due to medical bills being increased nearly 50% in a 6-year period. And you know what? These bankruptcies are coming from they're coming from middle-class, well-educated homeowners. And over 75% of people filing bankruptcies have health insurance already. That's how expensive it's getting. So as this Harvard Medical School professor says, you know what? You all could be one illness away from financial ruin in this country. All it takes is a severe illness to bankrupt somebody. There was a study done by Fidelity Investment, and it was a couple retiring in 2010 at the age of 65 would need approximately about $160,000 in savings to cover retirement medical expenses. This is retirement medical expenses in 2010. However, with healthcare costs rising 7 to 15% per year, that figure will go up to $500,000 to $2.2 million in 20 years by the year 2030. That's how much that's going to cost, is what Nicholas Webb is predicting. This is, in 1970, U.S. Spent about $75 billion or $365 per resident. However, by 2018, healthcare spending will be over $4.5 trillion or $13,100 per resident. So, don't count on any retirement health insurance benefits. I think those are long gone. Also, financial planners these days are getting involved with this because financial security, like avoiding bankruptcy as a senior, will for the first time include an increased focus on health and wellness. When you're dealing with your financial planning, they're going to be talking about your health. Imagine that. And because of the rising cost of treatment. So as a country, we just don't have enough wealth to be able to keep up with the epidemic of self-inflicted disease and treatment addiction. There's just not enough wealth. There's just not enough out there. So what's going to happen? So in the future, your primarily cost of living will be centered around health care, of course, increased cost of insurance. I'm sure many of you have seen that already. Taxation and increased out-of-pocket costs that are not covered by insurance anymore. So what do? It's simple. I'm telling you right now, protect your health as well as your family's health right now, as well as your children's health. Remain well. Now, this prediction is already coming true. When I first talked about this 3 years ago, healthcare will be scored. I thought, gosh, how can they do that? But similar to your credit rating scores, remember, way back when they had to develop a credit rating score, and I'm sure those people back then said, how dare that government and businesses rate how much money I have. Well, what's coming true today is that we're all getting health value scores where we'll be rated whether it's healthy or sick. So we'll all be that just kind of happens overnight. And what these health value scores is about, how they compile this score, it's based on your medical history, it's based on your genetic risk factors, such as your parents, your grandparents, when they ask you for that information, your occupation and how much risk you have, your age, your gender, your race. Imagine this, your percentage of body fat that you're going to have to let people know about, and your body mass index, and many other personal health related factors that will be exposed with these health value scores. And big businesses such as USAA, Humana, IBM, Johnson & Johnson, they're already employing these type of things. And so what we'll have, much like a credit rating score, where if you have a good credit rating, that means that you get money. However, if you don't have a good credit rating score, guess what? You usually don't get that loan. You don't get that money. The same thing with health scores. If you have a good health score, guess what? You got to go to the front of the line for health insurance to see the doctor. However, if you have a low health score, guess what? You know what? You might be too far gone. You could be denied access to care, okay, because of your behaviors. So, like I said, we'll be fretting about our health value scores just like we do our driving records. You know how we try to protect our driving records, how we protect our credit ratings. And so what we need to do is have that increased emphasis on our health value scores. Imagine this, employers and your bankers even will use health scores to calculate long-term employability and your financial stability based on your health value score. Okay, so businesses will be given tax credits for incentives such as wellness programs, and this is what's happening right now, where the fifth prediction is your health value score programs will share the cost of benefits, and insurance companies will start rewarding individuals through health value score programs by your premiums will be based on your HVS, will be based on your participation in wellness programs, and also improvement from your initial health baseline calculated at the start of the program. So no longer can you rely on, oh my gosh, I'll just wait to get treated once I get sick. No, because they're going to be following this. And then also employees will also start receiving refunds or paid penalties based on usage in health course. I have a friend who actually works at a hospital, and they're already implementing this within their hospital, that if they refuse to take a test, then their insurance premiums are higher, or they might, are usually higher. So also, health values programs will share the cost of benefits. Many employers in the U.S. are offering incentives or disincentives based on health behavior. For an example, Johnson & Johnson reported just with its wellness program, an $8.5 million in annual savings just from implementing wellness programs. So all of us, USANA associates out there, or if you're a guest on the program, the wellness industry is alive and well, where not only individuals, but businesses will be looking for solutions for wellness programs. They'll be looking for health coaches and so forth. Another example is IBM awarded $600,000 in rebates to employees for active participating in preventive care, nutrition, physical activity, and quitting smoking programs. Those of the people who use health insurance benefits most frequently will have to carry the burden, and it will go away from the people who strive to stay healthy. So it's the ones that are going to be causing the burden that will be paying more. Another prediction is called sicker and quicker, which refers to the practice of healthcare providers discharging patients that are not reimbursement favorable so they can make money by reducing their level of care. In other words, you have to be sicker to go into a hospital, and you're released quicker from surgeries because of the cost of it. Okay? And that is scored too, based on a scale of 1 to 10. If you've got a score of 4, you might not be sick enough, so you're not sick enough to come into the hospital, so you have to go back home. So now, if you're a level of 7, now you're sick enough, so now you can get admitted, but once you get back to a 4, you have to be sent home, even if you're not well enough. So, for patients over the age of 65, the average hospital stay in 1968 was 14.2 days. Contrast that with 2010, where the average amount of hospital days spent was 6.4 days. Because, you know why? Medical benefits pay a hospital the same fixed fee for particular medical conditions. So in other words, if that person is going in for a bypass, they might get so many dollars and so much money. So therefore, the quicker they can get that person out of the hospital, they get paid the same, whether that person is there 2 days or 4 days or 5 days. And then that 7th prediction is healthcare providers will recycle to cut cost, which means that, and this is coming from Nicholas Webb, who actually was in the surgical and medical device. He saw this, where things that were devices and things that were supposed to be disposable, they were using again and again and again, and that's how cross-contamination happens. And he's seen this reported in all 50 states. So what about the disease? So truly curbing the disease. And so not just easing the symptoms, not just putting that Band-Aid, that's true prevention. And so that needs to be equally balanced with the treatment. So if you live on the safe side of these 7 predictions, will require you to step outside your current lifestyle habits. So again, as you can see, with the impending collapse of the healthcare, mainly going to be due to obesity. And just imagine, the biggest economic disaster in modern times is the cost of healthcare. It's the biggest economic disaster. And guess what? It can be fixed, not by access to more treatment, but by simply changing your behavior of the average American out there. So what we need to help people do is help people create those new habits, create the new results that they can do. This was reported in 2009. If obesity trends continue on the current path, more than 40% of adults will be obese by the year 2018. 40%. Do we have something for that? Can we help those individuals? Prevalence of obesity among children is quadrupled in the last 25 years. Overutilization, where people are just so used to being over-medicated. They're used to being over-treated, and they basically become addicted to treatment intervention. However, we all know that that's going to change. Maybe they don't, most of the majority of people don't know it yet, but we do. And so that's why all of us need to become health crusaders out there. So we're at this beginning. We're the crusaders out there, from shifting from treatment intervention to health and wellness. And it will be in shifting to health and wellness, we all know this, will create one of the greatest wealth opportunities out there for us and for our families. And that's where USANA comes in with Dr. Myron Wentz, who is the founder of USANA. And this is what he wrote back in 2002, and which was probably 1992, a little over a decade ago. What Dr. Wentz, who's the founder of USANA, realized is that we've got to get down to the known cause of what's causing this degeneration. And what most of these lifestyle behavior diseases are being caused by is nutrient deficiencies and inflammation. And I talked about that earlier. And that's why when I got educated myself about what cholesterol was causing the inflammation in my arteries, it's when we can educate people about antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. And this is what Dr. Wentz also says. You'll be reading more and more about the fact that inflammation is the root of the or underlying cause of heart disease, cancer, diabetes. What most people will not realize is the fact that oxidative stress, which is caused by free radicals, is the underlying culprit that leads to the damaging low-grade inflammation, which is causing those degenerative diseases. And what I'm saying is that the pharmaceutical companies, you're seeing it, they're coming anti-inflammatory medications, okay? But then again, what is it? Those anti-inflammatory prescription drugs are just a Band-Aid. They're not doing anything with the cause of it. And what's important is that people develop healthy lifestyles that you can learn to significantly eliminate or reduce the causes of inflammation before they occur. So how do we begin to make these healthy changes? Well, we all know the answer. It's sitting right in front of us with USANA Health Sciences. And USANA Health Sciences was founded back in 1992 by Dr. Myron Wentz. And this is Dr. Wentz's vision. It's one man's vision, but I know that I'm extremely 100% behind it, as well as a lot of the associates that are on this call with us. And if you're a guest on the call, I certainly invite you to get behind this vision also, because now more than ever, it means a lot more. Where Dr. Wentz states that I dream of a world free from pain and suffering. I dream of a world free from disease. The USANA family will be the healthiest family on earth. Share my vision. And I hope after this presentation that it means a lot more now what this vision is about, and that we have the products. We have the product lines already in place. USANA is already ahead of its time. You saw before that USANA's manufacturing facility up in Salt Lake City, Utah, is an FDA registered facility, FDA registered, to manufacture according to pharmaceutical grade. To me, there has got to be a reason why Dr. Wentz actually went and did that when we didn't have to, because nutritional supplements, antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals do not have to be made according to pharmaceutical grade. But you know what? USANA is. So we're definitely ahead of the game. So I invite you all, the guests on the call, to learn about the essentials, to learn about the core products that we have, to learn about the products that we have for children, Body Rocks and USANimals for teenagers and for kids. And we have a whole product line for a whole array of areas for your cardiovascular, nervous, skeletal, digestive symptoms. We have the answer here to change our lifestyle behavior. We also have customized nutrition with our health packs and my health packs. And also, if you're on the call or the webcast and you're a guest, have the person who invited you send you a true health assessment, where you can take this assessment. It only takes about 15 minutes or so, where you too can figure out what your customized nutrition needs to be based on your body, your lifestyle, your exercise, and so forth. USANA is ahead of the game as far as customized nutrition. And then what can be sent back to you is a true health companion to help you with that. And we have the answers for food, for healthy fast foods, with our great tasting shakes and our bars that are low glycemic. We also have a reset weight management program. And now more than ever, does it make sense to you all to go out and offer this to people who are suffering from being overweight, from bordering those lines of having BMIs of 30 and above? But help those people, give them a solution, and that's what we have. They can start the reset weight management program and then do a transform and then a maintain stage. So I'm going to get through here real quickly here. I think I covered that already. Did I? A couple retiring. Oh, it's that example that I gave you, that needing $5.5 million. So what I'm talking about here, what Nicholas Webb is talking about, is prevention. Whereas prevention might cost you a little bit more in the front end. And so with that example, let me go back here a second. Spending $100 a month with healthcare cost it's predicted to have the $500,000 to $2 million that they're going to need by the year 2030. So, in other words, at age 45, if you start investing, let's say $100 towards products, towards taking care of your health, towards exercise, that sort of thing. So in 20 years, you would have spent about $24,000. Okay, and to me, that's a heck of a lot cheaper than spending 24,000. It's a heck of a lot cheaper over 20 years. Doing things, buying high quality nutritional supplements, getting on a good exercise program, getting with healthcare professionals that are chiropractors like Dr. Michael Williams and so forth, but getting with people that really truly care about your health, that don't want to just put a Band-Aid on your treatment. So you're going to have to make the choice of treatment versus prevention. So what Nicholas Webb, how he ends this part of his book is what he suggests to people is write a letter. This might seem kind of corny, but write a letter to yourself and kind of say, you know what, write down what you resolve to do. And then what you do is hold yourself accountable to somebody. And the best way to do it is just to start making little changes by day, taking your twice a day every day, eating low glycemic foods, having a healthy low glycemic bar, starting an exercise program, committing to do reset and releasing so many pounds of fat, drinking water instead of sodas. One of the things I did is that on December 16th, 2012, I decided to stop drinking diet sodas or anything that had Splenda, Crystal Light, anything that had Equal or anything in it. And the reason why I did is because, one day I said, you know what, I am just killing myself by doing this. And so I just decided to stop that one day. And so I encourage you all to start making little changes like that within your behavior so that down the road you're not left holding the bill for the cost of being sick. So, Brian, I know that I went a little bit over. I thank you all for still being on. That's the end of this presentation. I actually that's the end of this presentation. I also have another presentation that I'd sooner like to do one day. It's the end of his book where he talks about why the health and wellness opportunity is accelerating, and he talks about the 5 things of what's driving the health and wellness and why the health and wellness opportunity is such a good area to be in. And one of those is fear. And so, Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you because probably right now, at least hopefully there's probably a lot of you that have a lot of fear about our healthcare system and where it's headed.
Well, Linda, thank you so much. I know that many people that are on the call, just like myself, just a few short years ago when the healthcare changes started coming around, I was scared. There was a lot of fear from the aspect of not having a clue of what's going to happen. And so education is the best battle. Thank goodness for this presentation, just like you mentioned with Carlos. It wasn't just Carlos Samagero in that presentation that had the EBGB scared out of him. It was every single person that was in that room that day. And so I want to open it up for questions. I know that you covered a lot of information, which was all fantastic. And I know there's probably people on the call that might have questions for you. So for those of you that are attending, there in your control panel on the GoToWebinar control panel, you'll have an option to type in a question. I know some of you times are taking a little bit of time to be able to type that question in. So I'll give you guys just a little bit to do so. Linda, if you could find a slide with the book on there, because I'm assuming that's probably gonna be one of the first major questions people are going to have. Would like the title of the book with the name so people can see it, and then
how do I get back to my 10th slide?
If you hit escape, you'll go out of presentation mode. It'll kind of go back to your regular. There you go. You can just kind of scroll. So as you guys are typing in questions, Linda's going to go find that for you. There we go. All right. So any questions out there?
And this book is available at Amazon.com. You can buy it used, you can buy it new. I keep about 4 of them in stock, and I actually give it out to people to read. And what I usually do is have them read the first chapter. I'll just like put a little post-it notes on the first chapter, and then also chapter 10, which is the last chapter. So after they read that, they usually want to know more. Or if they already are a customer or a new associate, it's just a chance for them to know more and where our healthcare is headed.
Okay, I see Renette has a question, but she's not typing one. I'm gonna try and actually raise her hand here. Let me see. Renette, I'm gonna unmute you and see if we can make this work. Hang on one second. Renette, are you there? You can try and turn your microphone on. If not, that's okay. Travis said, eye-opening training call. Thank you, Linda. We got Chris saying, outstanding job. It's always a refresher to hear the real stats of what we face and with financially with our health as well. So lots of kudos so far. Okay, no Renette. Renette, you're going to have to type your question. Sorry. Lisa's got a question. No, Lisa says, thank you so much, Linda, for sharing. It's a huge eye-opener. Again, lots of great information here. Albert, I think, has got his hand raising up. Albert, we'll try and unmute you. Let's see. Albert, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, there you are. You got a question for Linda?
Yeah, I was wondering, in that book, does he address any of the, like, right now, the health coach or lifestyle coach, some people call them, does he address what he believes that industry will look like, kind of where it's headed at all?
No, he doesn't. Not in this 2010 version. He doesn't. I just happen to know where health coaches are going because of the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which is what I'm being certified through. And it's like a year-long program. And but no, Nicholas Webb doesn't address it. I'm sure he's going to address it in Wave 3 coming out in his book, because it definitely is an area that is an area that is going to be in need, because people don't know how to eat. People don't know they don't know how to change their behaviors. It just seems so easy to me and a lot of us, because this is what we've done for the last 4, 5, 6, 10, 13 years, that we know what food does to us. We know the value of supplementation. We know the value of health and wellness because of what Dr. Wentz and all of the physicians has taught us. I want to mention something. I don't know what happened to my slide, but I had a slide in here. I don't know where it went. Dr. Ladd McNamara is coming to San Antonio on April 26th. And which is a Saturday, he'll be here in San Antonio along with Dr. Enron, who's from Corpus Christi, along with Dr. She's a doctor out of Sonavive.
Karen Lingston, I think.
Yeah, Langston out of Sonavive. She'll also be speaking. But that event is going to be taking place. And so if you want to know more about health and wellness and prevention and how USANA ties into that, please attend that. Dr. Ladd has a book out called The Cholesterol Conspiracy. And it is that book that was very eye-opening to me. And I'm sure, Dr. Ladd, if you've got high cholesterol issues or heart disease issues or high blood pressure issues, he covers it a lot in that book, The Cholesterol Conspiracy. And I learned so much, and I'm so grateful that he's going to be here on April 26th here in San Antonio to listen to him. It's, I think, going to be 9:30 to 2:30. And it's going to be at the La Quinta at I-10 and Callahan. So it's
and we're going to get a flyer ready
this.
for that as well. So we'll have a flyer out for that ASAP. So, okay, any last questions? I know we've had 3 or 4 of just thank you so much, Linda's eye-opening comments, which it was a great presentation. Any last questions? Looking for hands going up or for questions showing up on the board, and I'm not seeing any. So with that, Linda, I just want to tell you thank you so much for tonight. I know got one question coming in here. Let me see. She does say, Lisa's asking, I would like to know more info on what it takes to be a health coach. Sounds very rewarding.
Okay. Yes, and if you are interested, please get with me on that because they do work, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition does work through referrals. And I checked out a lot of places before I decided on which one to go through, and been just immeasurably impressed by IIN.
Are you willing to give an email or a cell phone?
Sure, I can do an email.
Or
Linda,
Facebook. These should all be Team Illuminate members as well, so they could even get with you through via Facebook, via the Team Illuminate Facebook page if you'd like them to.
okay, my email is Linda Duke 862 at sbcglobal.net. Linda Duke 862 at sbcglobal.net. Or my cell is 210-862-3700.
Perfect.
210-862-3700. And I apologize for going long. I tried to go as fast as I could.
Okay, we've got, let me see here. This is just one last comment. It says, Linda, fantastic job on exposing things about the healthcare systems and the largest percentage of populations do not even have a clue about. Very good explanations on how you overcome the issues facing people in the future. Great presentation. Thank you for the learning. So it was a great job. So Linda, thank you so much. I know that many of you need to get back to your families. Monday nights have been a jam-packed evening for many of y'all. We got the national championship of basketball on. Some of you guys are probably playing that in the background. But it's been a great night. This is a ton of information. I know next we've got 2 weeks left. We've got Gina Hunter and Chris Harrell going to be closing us out on the last 2 weeks of the TI Online Bootcamp. Make sure that you're promoting that to your team. Make sure your team knows to go to tiwebcast.com and get registered for each individual webcast. It seems like we keep getting more and more attendees as every week goes on, which is really great to see that the demand and the intensity of the information is only increasing over time. So that's fantastic. So once again, Linda, thank you so much. Again, put also into your calendar not only for Monday nights for the next 2 weeks, but also to top off that final week, April 26th. We're going to have Dr. Ladd here in San Antonio, as well as Dr. Imran and Dr. Karen all the way from Sonaviv too. So that's going to be a fantastic day. Signing off from San Antonio. Thank you all of y'all for plugging in this evening. Hope you guys learned something. Again, Ms. Linda Duke, thank you so much for your information and your planning. I know all this information takes a ton of time to put together, so we really do appreciate you doing that.
You're so welcome. Thank you all.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Good night.